without further ado, can I bring to you the man of the moment, the next elected member who's going to go to Canberra to represent this wonderful region of Western Australia, Tony Crook.
No hecklers yet, thank you. All in good time. Thanks very much, John. And look, I won't go through that list of welcomes, but most importantly, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you very much for coming. This is a very important day for me, obviously, and hopefully a very important day for the electorate of O'Connor. As I've travelled around this, and just get this for a gig, 908,954 square kilometre electorate, from Warburton to Wagen, the people have shared with me a very strong desire for change. And this is evident right here in Kalgoorlie. This is absolutely overwhelming tonight, so I thank you sincerely. People are sick of seeing the money we generate in this fantastic state flow through to Canberra and never ever returning. Spent on infrastructure in the east, which, you know, I can't believe that our ad campaign just got it so right. About 5-6 months ago when we put it in place, reversed the rip-off, and then all of a sudden they come out with a rent resource tax. It was just staggering, and I don't know who thought of that, actually, Brendan, but it was an amazing call. Western Australia should not accept the federal government spending in the outer suburbs of Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane, where both major parties are vying for the vote. And they're doing it at our expense. They're doing it at Western Australia's expense. With that in mind, I ask you all here today to stop and just imagine the state-of-the-art hospitals, the well-resourced and quality schools, the TAFEs, universities, better roads, better infrastructure, better services, not for the Gold Coast, not for inner Sydney, but for Kalgoorlie, but for Wagen and Esperance, Albany. You know, we generate the money, let's get some of it back. Our policy reversed the rip-off by getting the federal government to match our royalties for regions money dollar for dollar. Could be a reality. It could be a reality. And this is what I am fighting for. I'm committed to getting a fair share for WA, and I believe our policy reverse the rip-off is the best way to deliver that to regional Western Australia. My commitment to get a fair share for regional WA is the key to my campaign. Is that you, Donna? No. That's...
It's the kids.
That's probably Carly. She wants to be here too. Now, where was I, Donna? Thanks very much for that.
I'll turn it off.
Oh, you're a bloody nuisance. Fair income. My commitment to get a fair share for regional WA is a key to my campaign. That's the essence of what we'll be talking about and what you'll be hearing about for the next month. And I apologise. But actually, I don't apologise. We need to get that message to Canberra. It's important that we ensure that regional WA is the place where people want to come to live, where they come to raise their families. And we need to get that point across to Canberra. When the National Party talk, we deliver. And it's these two people here, Wendy Duncan and Brendan Grills. They started with a dream, believe it or not, and the National Party was going to disappear into obscurity until that young fella, and he was a young fella then when he did that, changed our minds and changed everybody's minds. And the National Party and the royalties for regions has been embraced by regional Western Australia. The punters doubted us before the last state election, as everybody said. You know, everybody said it won't happen, and particularly the opponents. You can't do that. That won't happen. But that's exactly what has happened and just goes to show what can happen. But the major parties have abandoned regional Western Australia. It is clear that both the Liberal and Labor, with their party rooms dominated by the city politicians in the eastern states, have forgotten regional Western Australia. Can you think of three things? Hopefully you've seen the ads. Can you think of the three things that the federal government has delivered to Western Australia in the past 20 years? I can't. Certainly nothing springs to mind, does it? But if you think about the last 2 years with royalties for regions, I'm sure everybody in this room could name 2 or 3 things instantly. What regional Western Australia needs is a strong, independent voice, not someone weighed down by the left and the right of other political parties. I know what it's like to fight for things that I believe in. As most of you know and are probably sick of me saying or being, I was 10 years as the chairman of the Royal Flying Doctor Service. You know, my RFDS team and I secured record funding, thanks to mainly the National Party, and delivered the first ever jet aircraft into Australia, not just Western Australia, but into Australia. It was just a fantastic day when that beautiful jet rolled into the hangar at Jandakot. It was just a staggering day. We've delivered more staff to the RFDS. We've delivered 3 additional aircraft to the RFDS and more equipment. And it just goes to show when you get city-centric governments, they won't listen to an organisation like the RFDS. Country people here, you people here, you don't want or expect there to be a Princess Margaret Hospital every 20 minutes, 20 minutes away. But what you do expect is the next best thing to be available to you, and that is an organisation like the RFDS. And yet it took 8 years of negotiating with government before we had a change of government that would actually fund the RFDS to the level that it should be funded. The important part of this is that I'm ready to stand up and do exactly the same thing in Canberra for not only O'Connor but for regional Western Australia. Can I make the point that there is also a difference between standing up for what you believe and actually delivering in what you believe? If you have a passion for wanting to actually achieve something, you stand a far greater chance than actually saying, this is what we're going to do. This is achievable, it's been proved that it's achievable, and we hope to, and we will deliver that if we get the opportunity to. I'd like to take this opportunity to announce here today that when I make it to Canberra, I will not be part of a federal coalition. Let me say again, if elected, I will represent O'Connor in the House of Representatives. I will not be sitting in the coalition party room, but I will be looking at each issue on its merits and making decisions according to the interests of O'Connor and regional Western Australia. If the Federal National Party fails to adopt a more independent stance, if they fail to follow the independent lead that the WA Nationals have set, I will also be prepared to sit outside the party room. There is no point in being polite and compliant partners in coalition. Just think about what, with that in mind, just think about what the WA Nationals have been able to deliver for regional WA after taking an independent stance and introducing royalties for regions. If anybody was not acutely aware that the whole election campaign during the state campaign is that we are an independent political party. But we need the courage, we need the dedication, the commitment to represent regional WA despite the risks, despite the tradition, and despite the people who say we can't. Just imagine what we could deliver for regional Western Australia if the Nationals in Canberra, or better still, and this is a bit scary, if we had the balance of power in Canberra. Because believe me, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very big possibility. The election is tightening and tightening and tightening all the time, which is exactly what happened at the last state election. Now, all of a sudden, if they're knocking on my door and they're knocking on the WA Nationals' door, the WA Nationals, ladies and gentlemen, and they're saying, okay, how do we go about forming a government, or what can we do to get your point of view across? The first thing I'll be saying is, ladies and gentlemen, match royalties for regions and we're done. With the WA National holding the balance of power in the House of Representatives, regional WA will at last be guaranteed a strong voice in Canberra. As an independent WA National in the Federal Parliament, I would assess each piece of legislation based on what I can deliver for regional WA and vote accordingly. My first action in Parliament would be to introduce a private members' bill calling for 100% of WA's GST revenue to be returned to this state. It would make very interesting viewing to see how the other 14 House of Representative members of Western Australia would vote on this. I think we would make it very clear how these members make their decisions, and that is clearly not within the best interests of WA. Labor and the Federal Coalition are not putting regional WA first. There's no doubt about that. Our state deserves better. We are a fantastic state. We are a resource-rich state. We have so much more to offer. We need a new voice, one that will fight for regional WA. We're not going to get that by keeping things the same. Einstein once said that if you keep doing the same things and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. So we need to send a new message. We need to let Canberra know that we're not the polite and compliant partners in coalition anymore. And I will be urging the Federal National Party to adopt an independent stance and actually stand up for regional Australia. They should be the first point of thought when somebody says, if you're in regional Australia, what political party should you follow? It should be the Nationals. But it's not. They're thinking of other minor parties now because the two major parties aren't delivering. The current system is not working, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we have a plan to fix it. I'm asking you to send me to Canberra and reverse the rip-off and get WA's fair share. Thank you.